This is a Ben Frank Connection presentation.
We made it. We're
What's going
1
on?
years old.
It's one
Somehow,
year. Yes,
some way.
exactly to the day.
To the
1
day.
year since when
To the
we
day.
started.
May 5th, exactly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I'm your host, King Ralph. He's my co-host, Parmesan, as always. And yes, Sean, it has been 1 year.
1 year, and we did not disappoint with our guests this week.
Absolutely.
We went above and beyond.
Yeah.
We went through the stars. Ralph, tell them who we got.
We are
Let's
so
go.
super excited. Yes, we're bringing in today.
Stoked.
He's an Emmy award-winning journalist. He's a host on SNY. He's a host on Fight TV. You can find him practically everywhere these days, including co-host of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring to the show today Mr. Jon Alba.
What's up, guys? Appreciate you having me. Congrats on 1 year. I know it's not easy making it to that point for a show, so it's something you should take a lot of pride in. Congratulations.
Yeah, we absolutely
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for giving us your time. We're super stoked.
Absolutely.
Of course, yeah. I'm in a little bit of a makeshift setup right now in a conference room on the 50th floor of 4 World Trade Center before on television. But we're if the reflection went beyond me, you'd be able to see the Statue of Liberty over there. But we're doing our best. So I appreciate you having me.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks for your time. So let's start all the way back in the beginning. And how did you get your start in the broadcasting and journalism world?
So it goes back, truthfully, to April 10th, 1998. I was 5 years old, and I was watching the Yankee home opener against the Oakland Athletics.
Nice.
And it was a 17-13 final, which if you're a baseball fan, you know that's highly abnormal for a score.
Right.
Now, in hindsight, it was the steroid era, so perhaps it wasn't as as abnormal. But I was watching the game with my mom, and most people at that time, they've got their dinosaur stage, they got their astronaut stage, whatever, their firefighter stage. I said to my mom, I want to talk about this. Like, I want to be like those. I want to be the announcer. I want to do that. And fast forward sometime later, we're on one of the top regional sports networks in the country doing podcasts. It's been quite a ride, and we're still, every day is a different journey, but I'm very grateful for having lived this path, even through some of the challenges that you encounter along the way.
Yeah, you're obviously quite busy these days. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you currently provide content?
Yeah, I mean, right now, the majority of my efforts are going into SNY here, which is the TV home of the Mets. We're covering New York sports. We have a half-hour Sports Center style show called Sports Night that I'm a contributor for, and then occasionally I host it as well. So a lot of commuting into New York City for that.
Right.
And obviously have the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy as well, which we are in our third year of doing now.
That's awesome.
And thank you. And I also have my own wrestling. Thank you. I have my own wrestling Patreon as well, wrestlingaccordingtoalba.com. I do some freelancing for different outlets. And it's just try to keep busy, try to keep your voice out there, try to keep your name out there, and provide quality content,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool. 3 years again. We're talking about 1 year here, but 3 years is quite the accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a podcast called Living the Gimmick for a long time before I launched Party Show that we actually went 6 years, which was that was a challenge for sure. But I've got a great co-host in Matt Hardy, who has really bought into the concept. I've been very fortunate to have done podcasts with a lot of great people, and a few have bought in the way that Matt has. So it's pretty cool in that sense.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the MLB network?
My first internship was with MLB Advanced Media, which no longer exists, but that was essentially MLB.com. And I was cutting, baseball's always kind of been my sport, and I was cutting classic top plays and digitizing them. So I was in the MLB Productions tape library, and they'd give me a list of 30 historic moments or plays or whatever, and they'd be like, go into the tape library, digitize them from Betacam to MP4 or whatever it was, and upload them to MLB.com. So that was like my responsibility. And that then parlayed into an internship with MLB Network, where I was on the assignment desk producing shows, and they eventually hired me out of that. And then I went from there to my first on-air gig in Bangor, Maine, as the sports director for WVII WFVX.
Oh, geez. That's a name.
ABC 7 Fox 22 in Bangor, Maine.
Nice. You also won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Studio Show working for the network. So how do we go then from baseball to pro wrestling?
I've been a pro wrestling fan my entire life, even before I decided I wanted to be a broadcaster. My first, I call it my Big Bang moment, was seeing Kane break through Hell in a Cell.
That was my moment. That was my moment.
Yeah, 97.
Yeah.
And I was 4 years old. But seeing that, you see this larger than life character, and you're like, oh, like that's.
I was hooked.
Yeah, and that was kind of my Big Bang moment. And, being a child of the Attitude Era, should I have bbeen watching all the time? Probably not,
right.
I did. And I definitely got in trouble a few times for some of the things that came out of my mouth. But that was counterculture at the time, right?
Yeah.
I started writing about pro wrestling as a hobby, maybe when I was in 10th, 11th grade for just some websites.
Okay.
Wow.
And eventually that turned into podcasting, and that turned into working on the indies and doing indie work, character work, learning about booking and all that.
Right.
And eventually into the podcasting realm on the bigger stage, working with talent.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because you kind of fit the trope of a lot of the guests that we have on here, because everybody is so much younger than me.
Yeah.
They always talk about like these watershed moments that they have, and they talk about like Kane, or we had somebody on and they're like, I can remember when I was in elementary school watching John Cena on SmackDown, and I'm like,
that makes me feel old. So,
right.
I remember watching WrestleMania 5 in elementary school. Like that's how far I go back. But yeah, I'm always the oldest one in the room. Jeez.
Can't help you on that one, Ralph. Sorry.
Well, like I said, you fit the trope of the type of guest we have on here.
Right.
So in talking about professional wrestling and growing up as a fan, what were some of your favorites growing up?
Like people?
Yeah. Who were your favorite wrestlers to watch?
Yeah, The Rock was my guy. I was definitely a Rock over Austin guy. Not that I disliked Austin, but I was definitely a Rock over Austin guy. And then I really had two others that I loved: Kurt Angle and Matt Hardy.
Nice.
And I got a chance to do podcasts with two out of the three of those. So pretty
Very
cool.
nice.
You got Angle too?
I hosted Kurt's show for a little bit. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's
Hell yeah.
cool.
And I hosted a show with Kurt's wife, the Wives of Wrestling, that we had for a bit too.
Oh,
that's really cool too.
Yes.
Which was fun. Sure.
Yeah. So then, do you remember the very first wrestling show you went to live?
I want to say it was some local indie. The thing was, I didn't really have a lot of friends who shared the interest, and no one in my family shared the interest.
Same.
So I didn't really go to my first true big wrestling show until probably tail end of high school. And my first big WWE pay-per-view that I went to was Survivor Series 2011.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So 13 years ago.
Jeez.
It was my first in-person big show that I went to. Now I've been to a lot since then.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I would estimate that I've been to probably in the last 13 years, I would estimate I've probably been to probably well over 1,000 wrestling shows.
Oh,
so
wow. That's crazy.
Between working shows and going to shows, and covering shows. So yeah, probably I'd say that sounds probably about right. Maybe a little under, but not too far away from that.
That's crazy.
So. That's awesome. So being that you had the fandom in WWE, and obviously watching that on TV and things like that, what or how did you kind of get introduced to like the independent scene? Did you follow independent companies, or how did you kind of get into the indie scene?
Sure. So I've always kind of been a performer, and I played in a band for years. And when I got my career going, I kind of had to give that up. So I was looking for an outlet of how to get that performance side out of me. And when I was living in Maine, there was this small, super small independent promotion called IWE, Independent Wrestling Entertainment.
Okay.
And it was out of this small building in Brewer, Maine. And it was actually this it was a company that Mercedes Moné got her first title win. Her first title win came there.
Cool.
And I started going to some of their shows, getting to know some of the talent there. A lot of them are just people from in the town, essentially.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, really, truly rinky-dink.
Yeah.
Setup.
Yeah.
A boxing ring that was being used as a wrestling ring.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it sucked. And they had TV that they would self-produce and run on the network I was on. And they eventually were like, what if we, would you ever have interest in doing managing? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, it was always something I thought about just because I wanted to understand it more. I wanted to understand how the sausage is made. I wanted to understand all that stuff. And they were like, well, what if we bring you in as John from the station and you don't like how the baby faces are doing something? They're not representative of what the station is.
Right.
So we're like, okay, there's some fun to be had here. And my first couple shows I did, I was really just trying to be a generic indie manager, number one.
Yeah.
But eventually, over time, it starts to click. And I was like, what could I use for heat that would make me different? And what I came up with was, well, there probably aren't too many pro wrestling personalities who have an Emmy Award.
Oh, okay.
And the Emmy Award-winning Jon Alba character was born.
Nice.
Built on the premise of he has an Emmy, therefore he's higher on the social scale.
Right.
Some people have wealth. I have this tangible trophy.
Yeah.
That I could use as a weapon if I really wanted to.
Of course.
And eventually I started working with Limitless Wrestling in New England. And Limitless is an organization that I'm still involved with to this day, even though I'm not really working shows. I'm involved with booking the company.
Okay.
And I consider it to be one of the best indies in the country. And I think they do amazing shows. And, that got my foot really deep into meeting so many of these great talents, getting to know people like Daniel Garcia when he was 19 years old.
Wow.
Carmelo Hayes was the first person who welcomed me into the Limitless locker room and told me, put your stuff down next to mine. So
that's really cool.
That's
and
awesome.
then when I moved back up to Jersey, I got involved with the Monster Factory, as you guys are aware. And I started a stable there called World Renowned.
Sucks.
Right. And we have a lot of fun. And I really, what I like doing about World Renown and with the Monster Factory is because I have a little more equity in wrestling now. I do more coaching, and I really like that. I really enjoy doing that.
So, did you ever consider actually training to become a wrestler?
No, never once.
No.
Okay. I've had matches.
Okay.
I've had probably about 8 matches, I want to say. But you're playing a very specific role in those matches. When in 2021, I managed a group in Limitless called Prestigious, and we had a 4-on-4. They were 3 guys, and I was the manager, and we had a 4-on-4 with this group of women, led by Davian. It was Davian, Becca, Ashley Vox, and Delmi XO, and we built it over like the course of 9 months, and it was a huge. I think it was one of to that point, 2021, September 2021. It was one of IWTV's most streamed pay-per-views for specifically.
Yeah,
people wanted me to get my ass kicked, and and I did. So it was fun. We had a great time, and getting in the ring is not something I enjoy doing, but it's going to enhance a story or provide a great moment for someone. Then I'm willing to do it.
Right.
Sure, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the extreme life of Matt Hardy. So how did you really kind of get involved with Matt Hardy at the beginning? How did all this really kind of come together?
I was at WrestleMania 33 when the Hardys returned. And this is fresh off the Broken Matt character just kind of lighting everything on fire, right?
Yeah.
And as they were coming down the ramp, I said to myself, and I sort of told my buddy too, who I was with, I was just like, man, the stories that guy must have, like he just must have some incredible stories, just because he's been everywhere. He's reinvented himself like 7-8 times. He's gone to hell and back personally. Jeff obviously is a whole nother story in and of itself. So there's probably a lot of meat on the bone. That's when Something to Wrestle got launched around that time, and it was like a big deal. So I kind of had that sitting in the back of my head, and when I left TV news and I was going to venture into the podcasting realm on a more substantial basis, I was like, Matt had followed me on Twitter because I was doing a lot of wrestling reporting during the pandemic because I was in Orlando. And I was like the only person covering that stuff. And he had followed me, and I was like, what, screw it. I'm going to shoot my shot. I've got the show concept. Let's see. I know everyone and their mother has a wrestling podcast, but let me see. And I shot him a DM, and I was just like, hey, hope you're well. I know we've chatted before briefly, but here's my deal. I got this idea. I'd love to pitch you on it. I just need 5 minutes of your time. Here's my number. Call me literally whenever. And 3 weeks went by. I heard absolutely nothing. Then one day, it was sometime between midnight and 1 in the morning. I'm a night owl, so it's fine. And my phone lights up. It says Hardy, Matt. And I'm like, oh,
jeez.
And he was up with the baby, the newborn. He's like, hey, man, I got a few minutes. What you got? And so I pitched him. He was interested. He didn't say yes, but he was interested. And I was living in Orlando at the time, and AEW was coming to Orlando for Dynamite. So I was like, let's get lunch. Let's get lunch and let's chat. And I brought my laptop, and I came down with 100 different show ideas. I had 100 different. And I was like, here is a full 1.5 years worth of shows right here alone.
Crazy.
And he was like, I'm sold. I'm in.
That's incredible.
And it's been great because Matt has gone from someone who I was just fortunate to work with and I thought we'd be colleagues to he's one of my best friends. Like, he's legitimately one of my best friends. And
that's awesome.
He'll be part of my wedding whenever that happens in 40 years. And it's he's the best. So I got very lucky.
So,
That's
in
awesome.
your opinion, being in the broadcasting and podcasting world, even in the content creation world, what's the major difference between a content creator versus like just a podcaster?
I don't know. I think that's subjective. Like podcasting, I think that a good podcaster facilitates conversation, offers something that furthers conversation, offers something that's unique and different than. They ask good questions. Like interviewing to me is such an art. There's truly like anyone can be an okay interviewer.
Right.
A good amount of people can be a good interviewer, but there are very few great interviewers. And I think in podcasting, if you find yourself in that upper echelon, you can really stand out in the space for doing that. I take a lot of pride in my interviewing skill set. I think my interviewing skill set has been built over a decade in news media and understanding how to talk to different people and how to listen to people and follow up questions based on what they say in a way that furthers conversation. So I think that can separate a good podcaster from a content creator. You know, a content creator, it's such a broad term because content creation can cover so many different aspects. Content creation can be a serious thing where you're creating actual content of merit. And then there's people, and I'm not knocking them, but there's no true merit to this, who will give you top 5 WWE heel turns of all time. Now, that's fun, doom scrolling content that I'm going to stop on and watch, and there's nothing wrong with it. But is that truly servicing anything? I don't know. You know, so I sorry I'm talking in circles here, but I think it's a very broad spectrum.
Got you. So then, as a podcaster, what would you say is something that would maybe entice you to be on someone else's podcast, and maybe vice versa? What is something, or how would you maybe entice somebody to be on your show?
When I am a guest on a show, for me personally, I do look for their following because, you know, following, not that it's a be all end all. I've done plenty of podcasts with people that do 2 listens and that's fine. But are they consistently putting stuff out? You know, are they dedicated to the product that they're putting together? Are they crossing a line that I don't want to cross? Because in that case, I'm not going to do it. Are they approaching it from a professional angle? And if they're doing those things, then I'm usually down to clown. In terms of enticing people to come talk to me, I think your track record just kind of has to speak for itself, you know. And I think there's been a lot of talent in the wrestling industry specifically who have done interviews with me and attest to me helping them. I know Daniel Garcia has said publicly, and so has Willow Nightingale. They've said publicly that they felt that their 2 long form interviews they did with me got them hired by AEW.
Wow.
You know, when you, not that it was the only thing that got them hired.
No, of course.
That it was the convincing, okay, we saw how you carried yourself on this. We learned about you from this. Let's get the T's crossed, you know. And I think that when you have a track record like that, that will help you gain some equity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you then give to aspiring broadcasters, content creators, podcasters who are just starting out now?
Are either of you sports fans?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a sports fan, you probably know the name Ian Eagle. He's one of the top play-by-play guys in the country. Voice of March Madness, voice of the Brooklyn Nets. He's my mentor. And I learned something from him at age 15, which was pre-production is production. The amount of work you put into something ahead of time will ultimately be reflected in the quality of the product you put out. So anyone who wants to start off and try to dip their toes into that field, it all begins with the amount of preparation that you do and the amount of studying that you do. And then from there, once you get your feet wet with that, it comes down to reps. How many reps are you getting? How many times are you getting in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, and actually doing it? Broadcasting is a field that no matter how many written tests you take, you're not going to get better. The only way to get better is by actually doing it. And that is my biggest piece of advice that I say to anyone who's trying to get off the ground.
So having had success in a number of different arenas, what would you really attribute your success to?
Work ethic, I think. I think work ethic is something. I mean, I've worked my tail off for the last 15 years. But aside from that, my biggest goal in how I go about approaching everything is trying to do right by the people around me. And if I feel like I did right by the people around me, then that is my way of being able to go to bed every night. You know?
Yeah.
Like even you guys, we were supposed to record this another day, and Matt on a whim was like, "Hey, we got to do this here." So I didn't want to leave you guys hanging high and dry. I wanted to make sure we did this because that's when you commit to something, that's what you do. You know, I think it's important that when people understand that you are accountable, reliable, and you're always looking to do things the right way, that will aid in your reputation and how people talk about you and what opportunities that you get.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Matt Hardy and the extreme life of Matt Hardy. First off, do you have a favorite version of Matt Hardy?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because I know I have a favorite version.
What's your favorite version of him?
I am V2 all the way.
You're V1?
Or V1.
V1.
V1. Listen, I love I think Matt Facts
those are amazing. I love Matt Facts.
And I just, one of my favorite WrestleMania matches is him when he's V1 and he opens WrestleMania 19. No, he opens WrestleMania 19 with Ray. And honestly, I mean, for me, the rest of the show was just icing because that was the cake. That match was incredible. Still one of my favorite matches to this day. But I think what he did there was so genius.
I mean, it's why every episode of The Extreme Life we have a Matt Fact every single episode, and
there you go.
Sometimes more than one. I mean, V1 is definitely, like, in hindsight, the type of character that I most identify with. Where, like, my favorite heels are the heels who genuinely believe their own bullcrap. Like they genuinely think that they are. Like doing right by everyone and so like the V1 character for that is so great. I mean, it really is. And like I feel like if V1 came out today, it would be extremely successful. I think for me, probably the OG Hardy Boys is Team Extreme is probably my favorite, just because that was the first wrestling shirt I ever owned, was the neon green with the purple hand doing the Jeff Hardy guns. That was the first wrestling shirt I ever owned. And just Team Extreme, just the whole package of Matt, Jeff, and Lita was just such a iconic package, and it really was. And I think for that reason, just maybe we'll talk about it later, but obviously TLC was transcendent, and it just, for me, I think it's probably OG Hardy's
Yeah, I'm gonna throw one out because I don't think it gets enough love,
Oh.
in my opinion, and I think that's Big Money Matt.
Oh yeah, Big Money Matt.
I've loved Big Money Matt. I think that was one of my favorite versions of him.
He loves being Big Money Matt.
It's so good. It's such a good. It's so entertaining. He's such a he again. He believes his own hype.
Right,
It's
absolutely.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And,
I love it.
I think that in TNA, the Big Money Matt character was okay. I think
But
the Big Money Matt
in ROH
character,
though, ROH was where it was
ROH
at.
was good.
Yeah.
Like the dejected WWE superstar, like that was good. I honestly think the best Big Money Matt was his feud with Hangman Page. I think Hangman Page
Oh yeah.
in AEW, like that was when Hangman called him the no good carny piece of, like that was like, that was for me the best version of Big Money Matt that we saw. It's a good character, absolutely.
Yeah, Big Money Matt's good too.
So, do you have a favorite episode of The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy that you've done? Is there one that's kind of stands out to you as something that you personally really enjoy doing?
Yeah, I mean, we this week's episode on Drew McIntyre is episode 122. So there's a lot that we've gone through, but I would say my favorite. There's a few that I could really point to, but I would say our most important episode was the episode we did on mental health and addiction, because I think it was an episode. I think it was like episode 28 for us or something like that, and it was a topic that kind of taboo for a wrestling podcast, and it is still to this day by far the episode that people tell us resonated most with them. So I would say that one, but we've done a lot of great episodes over the years. Some that are based on current events, some that are based, like we about a month and a half ago had a topic planned, and we like to start each episode just by kind of shooting the breeze on some of the current events going on. And we got in this conversation about kayfabe just naturally, just like, is kayfabe alive? Is it dead? And I took all the notes I had for the episode. I threw them out. I said, screw it. We're not doing that. We're just going to do a whole episode on, is kayfabe alive or dead? Like that's going to be our episode. And I don't think you can do that with everyone. I think you have to have the right chemistry with the right person for something like that. And Matt and I definitely have that.
Yeah. So obviously, watch the episode in full, go back and watch it. But in short, what is your short opinion on is kayfabe alive or dead?
For me, it's pretty much dead. But like, like I think that embracing that is what we should be doing rather than forcing it. Like, I think the majority of wrestling audiences, not everyone, but the majority of wrestling audiences, the vast majority, understand that what they're watching is not real.
Yeah.
And they are willing to suspend their disbelief for that reason. So leaning into stuff that acknowledges that, if it's good, people will be willing to play along.
Yeah.
Even though they know what they're watching is not real.
Right.
They're willing to play along with the bit. They know the Young Bucks are not actually taking over AEW
right.
Sure.
Right.
If they find it entertaining, they're willing to lean into the bit.
Right.
So that's my approach on it.
I feel like with certain wrestlers, though, I think certain wrestlers try and keep kayfabe alive. Like, I think, for instance, MJF is really good at blurring those lines between what is in story and what is just his real life, like who he is. And he's really good at playing that line.
Yeah, he's great at it, and there are a lot of guys who are, but at the same time, even if people acknowledge what they're seeing is not real, I think they can still enjoy it as long as it's good. Like that's my basic argument.
Yeah.
Essentially. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of like the most fantastical,
right.
Like, I mean, we know that like The Undertaker didn't magically appear in the ring at WrestleMania.
Right.
But we were willing to suspend our disbelief because it was a great moment.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we all know it's not real, but because it was fun and entertaining and enjoyable, we didn't care.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's my approach to that.
Right.
I wanted to just touch briefly on what you said about the mental health awareness, because you guys were really kind of ahead of your time in bringing that up and talking about it. Because anybody that is in the Twitter world of wrestling and constantly watching Twitter, you see this almost every day now, where wrestlers are talking about mental health issues and talking about struggles, and people are willing to open up and be more honest about that, and really talk about the struggles that they've had, in the hopes that maybe, not only is it maybe cathartic for them, but maybe it could help someone else. So you guys were really kind of ahead of the curve on that, just looking at today's social media world.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's very important to me. And I'm a huge mental health advocate. I've been doing mental health advocacy for more than 6 years now, working with charities and working with respites. I'm someone who has gone through a lot of MIN. I've gone through years of therapy. I've gone through, I've been on antidepressants. I've been lows to lows, and I understand it's difficult to talk about, but when you have an audience, which I have a small audience, but I have an audience, and
a small audience.
I do have a small audience. Relatively, it's a small audience. Matt has a much bigger audience than I have.
But
so when you can utilize those things, and you can utilize those platforms to tell people, even if one person comes away with, oh, okay, they went through that too. Matt has talked about some hellacious things that he has gone through in his life publicly. And talking about back in 2011, 2012, taking synthetic oxycodone and thinking he was literally an angel floating in the air while driving and crashing a car. That stuff, that's very personal stuff to talk about, but he talks about it because he wants people to see that, other even famous people go through that. And he went through that. And I think it can be very inspiring. Hardy's first autobiography was called Exist to Inspire. And I think that's something that Matt and Jeff really try to live by, especially Matt.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel that.
So is there a topic or something that you may not have discussed on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy yet that you're really kind of chomping at the bit to get to? Something that you're really excited to talk about with Matt that you haven't?
There are definitely some things. I don't really want to put them out there right now, but There are definitely some things. There's been some things that logistically we've not really been allowed to cover as in depth as I'd like to. And circumstances could eventually change on that front. But I'd like to do a longer form on Edge at some point. We did kind of one thing on Edge when he came to AEW, but I'd like to do something a little more long form on Edge. Focusing on some of the craziness that happened there. There are definitely a lot of interviews I'd like to do with him because some of the episodes are interviews, so there are definitely some interviews I'd love to do. It's very difficult coming up with topics to talk about on a podcast like that. But we're 122 episodes in, and we're rocking and rolling right now. So we just keep trying.
And is Matt very is he very open with you about things? Have there been things that you've brought up and he's like, no, I don't want to talk about that, or is he more of an open book, so to say?
No, he definitely is extremely open, extremely open. And I'd say if I were to pitch him 50 ideas, maybe 2 or 3 of them he wouldn't be down with.
That's crazy.
He's pretty open-minded on that stuff.
Yeah, just seeing him at the Monster Factory during the seminar, he was just super, just couldn't be any more nicer to everybody, to the students, to us. Gave everyone 5 minutes of his time to talk. Some of them, people were asking him questions, and he was just ask away. It was just really cool to see that.
Yeah, he. What was your guys' impression of him? I'd love to know. Like,
I thought
when you...
he just felt like a genuine, just a pure genuine guy. Like just like I know he's a big time wrestler over the top, but like just as a person, he just seems like such a genuine person. Like
Yeah, very much so.
He generally cares about me, you, him, the student, whoever is around him. He generally seems interested and cares about what they have to say as well.
Certainly so. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I felt this sort of love for the business out of him that extended just beyond his own, personal being in the business. When people asked him questions, he didn't just fire off answers like you would expect. Like he took his time. He thought about answers.
Yeah.
He really, and I was surprised. I was surprised at how in depth he really went into on some topics, because there were some questions that got, some really good long form answers. And, it was nice to see, because again, you're in front of, students at the Monster Factory, people that are just, some very, very, very early in the business, just really kind of getting their start. And for him to be a resource for them like that, I thought it was really great. Just sitting in the audience and watching like some of the people in front of me, they came with, notebooks and pens, and they were just taking notes on everything he said. And I thought to myself, I understand you guys are doing a show and all of that, but for him to be willing to do something like that was, very generous of his time, and kind of showed to me what kind of person he really is.
Yeah, certainly so. And we did that show for free. So it was definitely, we just wanted to help cover costs of the venue, but it was definitely a meaningful night for him. I know that.
Yeah, I think it meant a lot to everyone that everyone kind of got like Ralph said, like he gave everyone not just an answer, but like he gave them like a concrete, clear, defined. Like, I'm looking at you, and this is your answer. Like, it was just really cool, like, to see, like, because some Q&As, they don't take the time. They just answer it and move on. And it's like, real quick, next question. But Matt was like, no, I'm going to give you a full answer, and then we'll move on. Yeah,
that was awesome. It was a great night.
Yeah, you and I talked a little bit about it that night after the show, but, even for someone like us to be there, podcasters who were, in the grind here, and again, really relatively early on in this, even a lot of the things he answered as other questions, for people in the wrestling business, wrestlers, we were able to take something from them.
Sure.
So,
well, I think that's one of the things you really have to, and it's why I think I'm decent at what I do, is because I spent a lot of time truly trying to understand pro wrestling, and like working in the indies really helped me a lot with that too. Where if you came to me right now and said, John, lay out a match for me, put a match together for me, I feel I could do that.
Yeah.
And I think when you understand something at that level, it makes you better in covering it or in talking about it.
Right.
One of the things that I do for my Patreon is tape study, and we will pick a famous match or a recent match or whatever, and we will watch the match through. And it's not just us talking about the match. I'll stop and pause the match and be like, here's why they did a side headlock takeover into.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's content that's different than, because I have this understanding that probably a lot of pro wrestling podcasters don't have, or, so if I can offer something different, then that's huge. And I think what you're talking about there with Matt, what he's offering the wrestlers, you can learn from that, and that can make you better in discussing these things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Like almost everything that he said sort of pertained to us, and, especially when Ralph was able to ask, his own question, and obviously that pertained to not only us, but also to the wrestlers. Because we were asking about, how would you do it on a podcast? But he also kind of turned it around and said, okay, think of us also from the point of a wrestler. And it was cool that he kind of called that back from podcast back to wrestler. I think it was cool that he was able to like put the two together.
Certainly so.
So obviously you're a very busy man, but when you have some free time, what do you enjoy doing?
I really don't have a lot of free time.
I knew that was coming.
I knew I was coming.
Could tell.
Right now, I'm a full-time freelancer, and full-time freelancing there's not a lot. Oh, actually, he's calling me right now.
Look at
Here, hold on one second.
Sure.
Matt, I'm on air doing a podcast right now with the Opinion City podcast, and they came to our live podcast at the Monster Factory. And there you go. They're celebrating their 1-year anniversary right now as they're interviewing me. Anything you want to say to them real quick?
I want to say congratulations on 1 year, 1-year anniversary. It's a very cool landmark. I am very happy for you guys, and I wish I could be there with John to celebrate for you. But I'm actually on a plane going to Albany. I will be there in a couple hours.
Fantastic. It's
awesome.
not easy. It's not easy.
Right.
With Matt and I can attest to.
Yes.
Yes.
But Matt, I will give you a shout back after that. And I'll chat with you. But travel safe if I don't get you back, and
I will.
I'll catch you later. Take care.
You got it. I'll talk to you
See
later.
ya. There you go.
There you go.
And that could not have happened at a better time.
that was
to explain how
perfectly
busy your
timed.
life is.
Perfectly
go.
timed.
There you go.
That's
How
All
about
right,
that?
so
I don't know what I was saying, but whatever I was saying.
no,
wasn't as good as that.
that's
That
perfect.
answered the question.
Listen, we have one last question for you because we know that you're on sort of a time crunch here. You have a busy life.
I do have. Oh, that's what it was. I was. What do I do in my free time?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I'm a big cooker. I love cooking.
Oh,
Cooking is
okay.
a huge thing for me.
That's good. That's good.
yes.
That's good.
If you follow me on Twitter, you know I post a lot of the stuff that I cook.
Right.
And on Instagram too, I do as well.
Mhm.
And live music. Live music for me is
Hell yeah.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, music is
Yeah. so.
Do you,
Look, most people watch baseball or sport for recreation. It's part of my job. Part of the reason I have to get off here is because I have to pay attention to the Knicks game. So I can
right.
Right.
There's things to do, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have any big concerts coming up this summer that you're excited about?
Yeah. So I mean, if you follow me, you know this about me. Springsteen is my religion, and last year on tour, I had planned to go to 10, but I went to 8 because he canceled the remainder of his tour due to some health issues.
Right.
So I went to 8 Springsteen shows last year.
That's awesome.
As of now, I have 2 on the docket this year. I have some Foo Fighters tickets this year. I got Sammy Hagar and doing some Van Halen stuff this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good. Live music is like the one thing I'm willing to spend money on.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
The wife and I have tickets to Creed this summer.
Nice.
Seeing Creed, and then she actually won tickets in a contest to see New Kids on the Block, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and Paula Abdul.
Cool, that's fun.
Yeah, sure, if you say so. That's not my thing, but
it's not Ralph's cup of tea.
we're probably going to end up going, and Sugar Ray and Tonic are playing a show near us, so we're probably going to go see that because I'm a big '90s music guy. So
love it.
That's cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess like I said before, now that your brain worked for a second.
Yes.
Last question that we ask all of our guests, and obviously it's a big one, so that's why I'm going to give you the floor. And it's what does the world of pro wrestling mean to you, and what is its impact that it's had on your life?
Whew. For me, it has been an avenue that has given me fulfilling opportunities that I never would have expected to have. It can be a very frustrating arena.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who romanticize the idea of working in it full time. I tried working in it full time, and I wouldn't recommend working in it full time. But you know, sometimes you don't want to be so closely associated with, and this is going to sound bitter to a degree, but I promise it's not. Sometimes you will love something so much, and it doesn't always love you back.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right,
Yeah.
and that can be a really hard thing to swallow. But I think it's a fantastic alternative form of storytelling that allows us to feel something, and I'm very grateful for that.
Right.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for joining us here for our 1 year anniversary.
Absolutely.
Not only that, but really kind of allowing us to come to the podcast at the Monster Factory and just allowing us to be a small part.
Sorry, guys. Go
No,
ahead.
you're
Good,
fine.
good.
But just allowing us to be a small part of that world and just allowing us in. As podcasters, for us, it was a really important moment for us. We gained so much out of that, and then
sure.
just willing to be able to give us your time here for our 1 year anniversary. I know the scheduling was a little crazy, but we finally got you on.
Figured it out.
Just you being gracious enough to join us for this. I cannot thank you enough. It has been,
Of course,
an absolute pleasure and honor having you on our show.
Yeah, no doubt, and I appreciate you guys having me and being so persistent and trying to bring me on. I had a little bit of a busy week, but I was able to make it work. And I listen. I get it because I've been there. I've been in those shoes, and I'm very appreciative that you think of me even in that light. That having me on is a big deal. I don't look at myself in that way at all. So
you absolutely are.
So I appreciate that, and I really appreciate it. And Matt, appreciate you guys being at that live podcast. I'm glad you guys took away something from it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good luck and congratulations on 1 year doing this, and here's to many more for you.
Thank you
so much. Yeah, we appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. So
so thank you.
Have a good night and enjoy being on the air.
Yeah, time to go talk about the Yankees being bad, the Mets being okay.
Right.
But thanks so much, guys. You have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Well, I have no words. I have no words. There are no words. Let's just get into some upcoming events. All right. Yeah, let's get into some upcoming events.
Let's do it.
All right. So we have got if you have not taken the opportunity yet, please hop on over to our YouTube channel and check out our 50th episode, our interview with Mr. Anderson. Seriously, guys, a great interview. If you love behind the scenes stories, if you love backstories, if you love Mr. Anderson, if you love us, it is a great. It's
all the above. All the above.
I wouldn't, even if I wasn't a part of this show, I would recommend it just because the stories and just the things stories that he talks about during this episode are amazing. So please go check that out. While you're over on the channel, you can see our latest episode, which is episode 52, our big WrestleMania. It was
just me and him today, baby. It was just me and him. You get Ralph,
Sean and I.
You get Parma, that's me. We talked about our fun week of WrestleMania, all the things we did. We went over all the cards, all the matches. We even got to hear some of Ralph's adventures during Mania.
Yeah, we got to talk about all of it. So that was a lot of fun. So check that out. And then you can also check out our latest episode of Wrestling with Life. We have photographer Amy Morgor, who also was there WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
And had a lot to talk about as far as deathmatch wrestling, the shows that she attended. She was at Labor of Love's WrestleJohn Euphoria. So
it's probably our longest Wrestling with Life episode to date. Almost 2 hours.
And we had a great time talking to her. Yeah. And then, of course, next week, we have our exclusive interview with Tony Cini.
Yeah.
We're very excited for this.
Super pumped for that.
This one's going to be a fun one, too.
Absolutely.
So, guys, if you enjoy what you see here and you want to support us, there's a couple real easy and free ways.
Super simple.
Super simple. Takes seconds, honestly. Hit that thumbs up. Let us know that you like what we're doing. Yes, hit that thumbs up. Let us know that you like what we're doing.
Nice.
You're enjoying the episodes. Please, it literally takes a second, and it means so much to us. Hit that subscribe button.
Smash it.
Smash that subscribe button.
Let us know that you want in. You want to watch our stuff, and you want us to know.
Absolutely. Do not miss a single thing by subscribing, and then of course hit that share button.
Share with everyone.
Tell everyone you know. Find a Yankees fan, a Mets fan, and tell each one of them how much you love the Opinion City podcast.
Absolutely.
Again, like, share, and subscribe, guys. It literally takes seconds, and it means so much to us. If you really want to help us out, hey, buy some merch.
Buy a
We
fanny
got
pack.
lots of merch. We
We have an
fanny
Opinion
packs,
City fanny pack.
We got shirts. We got mugs. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Links are down in the description. You can find all of our links on our link tree.
Absolutely.
Follow us at Opinion City Pod for everything that we're doing here. Follow us at Ben Frank Connect so you can find out everything that the Ben Frank Connect is doing. And finally, the most important one of all, guys, follow and support our guests. You saw the links down below for Jon Alba's socials. Please follow him on all the socials.
Follow the podcast.
Follow everything that he's doing. The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Check out his Patreon. I'm sure he's got amazing things there for everyone.
Absolutely.
So check that out as well.
Yeah.
So here we are, Sean, back at 1 year. I mean, can you imagine? As you said there, it's been 1 year.
Yeah.
And yes, it's been 1 year.
It's nuts that we've been doing this for a year. We've gone through a whole year, 53 episodes, another 10 episodes of Wrestling with Life, another oodles of more of content that we've created in a year. Sure. It's nuts. Sure.
I mean, we're doing
wild.
We're doing Monday Night Raw live streams now. We have had, I believe, Jon Alba is our 34th guest.
Yeah.
Like it's
but who's
insane,
counting?
But who's counting?
Just numbers.
But we've gone to WrestleMania week. We've done shows with Labor of Love. We've talked to people like Cheeseburger. We've talked to every possible person we could. It's just been so much fun. We've gone from people like Mr. Anderson and Jon Alba, who again, two huge names for us.
Amazing,
that we're super thankful to. But we've talked to independent wrestlers. We've talked to guys like Ultimo Ant was our first ever interview.
He was fun.
Dan Champion was our first ever video interview.
Yeah, which if you notice the callback to the intro, that's why it was there.
That's right. Ultimo Ant is a permanent part of the show.
Absolutely, yeah. He's at the outro of every show.
We've talked to referees. We've talked to just the different kinds of people in the business, ring announcers.
Everyone.
We've been all over, and it's really been an amazing ride.
Absolutely.
I think when I envisioned this show 7 or so years ago, I don't think I ever envisioned that it was going to get here. I don't think I ever envisioned it was going to get this far. We've been able to do some amazing things, but honestly, we wouldn't be able to do anything without the support of our followers, our listeners, our viewers. We appreciate you for being here. We appreciate you for going along this ride with us. And this ride is far from over.
Not even close.
We are just hitting May 5th here, but we are currently booked halfway through June, and
we're still rolling.
We've got lots of people that want to come and talk to us.
We ain't slowing down.
This train is moving forward, but again, this has been an amazing ride. And being able to do this with you, Sean, has been a joy and a pleasure from day one, and it continues to be.
Thank you.
Continues to be a pleasure every day. I don't think there's. And again, you and I did not work together previous to this, so I really didn't have a whole lot of idea. I just knew that we were friends, we were wrestling fans. We've been, up and down the road to shows and things, and I thought, you know what, this is a guy I think I want to talk to. This is a guy I think I want to work with, and I don't think I realized in the very beginning how great it was really going to be, but it turned out to be just phenomenal working with you. So again, thank you to you. Thank you to everybody that has supported us down the line, family, friends.
Thank you so much.
We have people like Billy Avery from Labor of Love. We have people like Chris Reject from the LVAC. Alex from High Tension Wrestling, who allowed us to come to tapings and said, hey, you guys are welcome at tapings anytime. We've had so many people that have Attic Brewing Company during WrestleMania week.
They were great.
Sweet Lucy's Barbecue during WrestleMania week. Just so many people that have helped us along the way. And then of course, our BFC family, ABJ, Lily,
all of them.
Huge help. Since the inception of the BFC, they have been a huge help to this show. And now bringing in Raz and Steven Chambers, who are helping to continue the legacy of not only what we do, but again, the great things that they do as well.
Absolutely.
There's just, there's so many people to thank here. And
yeah,
before we get out of here, there's just one more group of people that I want to thank. And we talked about family. And so my mother and my father, who is no longer with us and never got to see me do this, they were huge instrumental helps in getting me to where I am today, getting me helping me out, getting the podcast equipment and just getting started. And, my dad never got to see me do this. I'm hoping he's somewhere looking down on this now. But it's just, I could not have gotten to the point I've gotten to with this podcast without them. So, all the thanks in the world go out to them.
Absolutely.
It's a joy and a pleasure to get on here every week and talk to people and introduce our followers and our viewers and our listeners to the wonderful people in this world that we get to know, whether we've known them before or we're just getting to know them on the podcast. It has been an amazing journey being able to introduce them to you as well. So it's been a great ride and we're just getting started. I'm so excited for the future. There's a lot of big things.
So much to do.
A lot of big things coming for the podcast, and we're super excited about it. And we're super excited that you're along for the ride with us. So I think that's going to wrap it up for our 1-year anniversary. Again, we want to thank our special guest, Jon Alba, and our inadvertent special guest, Matt Hardy himself. Incredible. So, guys, I thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And with that, we will see you next time.
See you next week.
This is Ultimo Ann here. You're listening to Opinion City Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.
Okay, thanks for watching this presentation. Like, share, and subscribe for more.